Have you ever caught him looking at you when he thought you weren't noticing? That subtle shift in his voice when he speaks only to you.
The unconscious doesn't lie. Even if his words are careful, his soul has already chosen, and that choice is you. The man who sometimes confuses you with silence or mixed signals may actually be more in love than he himself realizes. Carl Jung discovered that our deepest emotions bypass the conscious mind. They surface in subtle behaviors we cannot control. When a man's soul recognizes yours, his body betrays what his lips have not yet confessed. Many women mistake silence for indifference, when in truth it may be the opposite. Authentic love rarely announces itself with grand gestures. Instead, it transforms his entire world in ways neither of you may fully understand, until you begin to notice the signs. These are the unmistakable signals that his soul has already chosen you,
Even if his rational mind has not yet caught up.
The man whose actions confuse you, sometimes distant, sometimes close, may already love you far more deeply than he dares admit. Love does not always arrive with clear logic or words. Sometimes it slips in through a dream, a fleeting look, or a sudden softness in his behavior when he is only with you. Jung said that what we do not make conscious appears in our lives as fate. This truth applies to love as well. Even if he has not yet fully realized his feelings, his soul is already acting on his behalf. Watch closely and you will see. How do you know if he is truly in love? What signs reveal what his heart is quietly experiencing? These are not cliches or shallow gestures. They are deeper indicators rooted in Jung's understanding of the unconscious, the ways in which a man's soul reveals its truth when you are near. The first sign lies in his attention. Not the obvious kind that tries to impress or demand something in return, but a subtler, more authentic noticing. He pays attention to details others overlook: how you really feel when you say you're fine, how your voice changes when you're tired, how you adjusted your hair without mentioning it. This is not strategic attention. It comes from resonance, from an inner connection his mind has not yet named. Another powerful sign appears in the way he changes around you. Some men behave the same with everyone, but a man whose soul has recognized you becomes different in your presence. He may appear softer, more vulnerable, even clumsier.
Real love disarms rather than perfects.
If his silences with you feel comfortable rather than awkward, if he shows sides of himself he hides from others, it means something within him has already shifted. Jung also believed that what the soul loves, it protects. That is why you may notice him caring for you in quiet, instinctive ways. He worries if you are safe walking at night. He wants to know if you've eaten. He adjusts small details to make you comfortable. This is not control or performance. It is the unconscious urge to guard what he values most. When a man begins to act with quiet devotion, expecting nothing in return, he has already made you part of his inner world. You may also see it in how he responds to others when they mention your name. Praise brings a light to his eyes. Criticism stirs visible discomfort. His instinct to defend you activates even if his mind resists the idea of being in love. The unconscious always reveals what the lips conceal. Effort is another undeniable sign. Love inspires action even in the smallest ways. He remembers your words, shifts his time to include you, apologizes when he feels he has fallen short. True effort is not born of obligation or strategy, but of an inner world reorganizing itself around you. And then there are the changes you cannot see directly, but which ripple through his life. His routines alter. His thoughts become restless. He seems distracted, reflective, unsettled. Without trying, you have entered his inner world. Jung spoke of how inner figures transform us even in absence. If you notice that his life subtly bends in your direction, it is because his soul is already carrying you within it. Many men struggle to translate emotions of the soul into words of the mind. Silence does not always mean indifference. More often it means the depth of what he feels is beyond what he can express. If you pay attention, you will see beyond the surface and recognize that his heart has already chosen, even if he hasn't said it. Finally, notice the presence he carries when he is with you.
Perhaps he does not declare his love, make promises, or speak much at all. But something in the way he looks at you, the stillness in his silence, or the change in his breath when you enter the room, says more than words ever could.
His body, his energy, his quiet devotion are already speaking for him. When a man is more in love than he realizes, his unconscious betrays him with every glance, every effort, every quiet act of care. The signs are all there if you learn to see. And once you recognize them, you will understand that true love rarely arrives with fanfare. It appears quietly, steadily, as an inevitable force that transforms both of you from the inside out. There's a transformation that unfolds in the heart of a man in love, though it rarely reveals itself at first glance. It's subtle, almost invisible, yet profoundly powerful. This transformation often begins when he starts shedding behaviors that once defined his daily life. Perhaps he once avoided commitment. Maybe he kept an emotional distance from others. Or perhaps he lived comfortably in his own self-contained world. But since you entered his life, something has begun to stir. It's no longer enough for him to think only of himself. Quietly, without realizing, he begins to open space, mental, emotional, and spiritual, that he once guarded fiercely.
And this isn't done as a sacrifice.
It happens almost unconsciously, as if his very soul is adjusting to a new reality calling from deep within. You'll notice this when he starts sharing parts of his life he doesn't reveal to anyone else. Not surface-level details, but the raw fragments of his story, his fears, his regrets, his hidden dreams. In that moment, he no longer seeks to appear flawless. Instead, he begins to show his humanity without filters. This shift is not an act of conquest or seduction, it is surrender. And that surrender, however quiet, is proof that something within him has changed. Carl Jung once said that the soul needs a mirror to know itself. Through your presence, you become that mirror. He sees himself reflected in you and, at the same time, begins to see himself in a new light. Another revealing sign emerges in how he responds to your emotions. Not everyone knows how to meet another's emotional intensity, yet when he is deeply connected, he feels your joy and unconsciously mirrors it. He also senses your sadness and grows unsettled by it. Even if he lacks the right words, his energy shifts with yours. Perhaps he doesn't always ask, "Are you okay?" But you'll notice it in his softened voice, his attentive gaze, or the way he moves closer. Uncertain of what to do, yet compelled to do something. That instinctive desire to stand with you in your emotions is one of the purest signs of unconscious love. Watch how he behaves in your absence. If he brings you up in casual conversation, saves stories to tell you later, or thinks of you in moments with no external reminder, then he is far more in love than he realizes. What lingers in absence is stronger than what is said in presence. A persistence is not coincidence, is the soul speaking. Love rarely arrives through certainty. It announces itself in signs only the heart can read. There comes a stage when he begins to need your presence, not as routine, but as balance. He may not declare it in romantic phrases, yet his restlessness betrays him when you're distant. He shows up just as you begin to drift, searching for excuses to re-enter your orbit. This isn't obsession or dependence, it's genuine connection arising from a depth even he cannot explain. Jung would agree, for the unconscious is not bound by logic or time. When true emotion roots itself there, it begins to shape thoughts, impulses, and choices. You'll see this most clearly when he begins to value your opinion in his decisions. He shares plans and genuinely wants to know if they align with yours. He may confide his doubts or insecurities, not because he sees you as a rescuer, but because in you he has recognized safety. When a man reaches this level of openness, barriers fall away. Love is no longer built on performance. It thrives in vulnerability. The most telling sign comes when he unconsciously places you in his future. He speaks of places he'd like to visit or experiences he hopes to have, and in those visions you're already there. Without declaring it, his soul has woven you into his path. In time, you'll notice smaller but equally powerful gestures. He defends you in your absence. He prioritizes you even on his busiest days. He doesn't do this to impress. It flows naturally because peace with you has become essential. True love expresses itself not only through butterflies and passion, but also through calm, through the quiet sense of home. And when he starts aligning with your world, exploring your passions, embracing your joys, it is not loss of individuality, but resonance. Jung observed that when two souls harmonize, inner boundaries soften. That is the birthplace of intimacy, the silent belonging that requires no explanation. If his actions, his silences, and his smallest gestures reveal this shift, then the truth is undeniable. Even if he hasn't found the courage to say it, his soul has already chosen you. And once the soul has chosen, it's only a matter of time before the heart follows. Sometimes love reveals itself not in grand gestures, but in quiet presence, in silent care, in tenderness that asks for no audience. When a man is more in love with you than he realizes, his soul has already made a decision that his mind is only beginning to understand. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious does not lie. Within us lives a truth that surfaces through symbols, emotions and actions we may not fully comprehend. Yet they are undeniably real. If you've seen these signs, if you've felt this connection, if something deep inside whispers that what is happening between you two is no coincidence, trust that instinct.
Listen to it.
What we often call doubt is sometimes only the mind struggling to catch up with what the soul already knows. In the end, it's not the perfect declaration of love we seek, but the authentic resonance of a soul that has quietly chosen ours. These signs do not shout in dramatic proclamations. They live in subtle alchemy, in the way his priorities begin to shift, in the unseen gravity that pulls him back into your orbit when logic offers no explanation. Jung understood that the deepest connections transcend conscious awareness. They emerge from the inner world where our truest self resides, untouched by fear or strategy. When a man begins to reorganize his inner life to make you essential to it, when his energy shifts in both your presence and your absence, when he offers you vulnerability without armor, that is love before words. It is recognition at the level of being. If you're still here listening, it's because some part of you resonates with this truth. This message reaches you not with drama or exaggeration, but with calm knowing. Real love doesn't impose. It doesn't demand or beg for applause. It simply remains steady and constant. Even on the quietest days, its presence speaks louder than noise. You'll feel it not in rehearsed speeches, but in small, almost invisible moments. In the way he pauses to watch you when you're not looking. In the details he remembers that you thought he forgot. In how his gaze shifts the moment you enter the room. To others, these may seem insignificant, but to you they echo deeply because they carry the weight of something real. True love is never about perfection. Conscious love is not built on idealization. There will be doubts, silences, and temporary distance. Yet even in those pauses, something remains unshaken. Love born of the soul does not dissolve with the first storm. Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming our truest self. On that path, we sometimes meet another with whom we resonate at a level beyond reason. When such a meeting occurs, the bond is not about completion, but about walking side by side. The man who is more in love with you than he knows may not always find the words. He may wrestle with fears, old wounds, and doubts of his own worth. Yet his actions quietly contradict those fears. Despite his hesitation, he stays. Even in uncertainty, he returns. Because his soul already recognizes you as home. When one soul finds home in another, a profound transformation begins. It is no longer about clinging from need, but about sharing from freedom. He isn't seeking you to fix him, but to walk beside him. And you, without realizing, become his mirror. Not only do you reflect his shadows, but also his light. You remind him who he is beneath the noise of the world. That is why the calm he feels in your presence is more than affection. It is trust. Jung said that symbols carry archetypal meaning, and in choosing to reveal his imperfections before you, he expresses a trust few dare to offer. This is not weakness but surrender. Many chase love that dazzles, that overwhelms. What you are witnessing is different.
A love that endures when no one watches.
A love that chooses without spectacle. It does not promise the moon because it is already building refuge on earth. Quiet, perhaps, but immense. Not tied to fleeting moments, but anchored in connection. There will be days when he falters, when he pulls away or doubts himself. Yet even in those cycles, something remains, an invisible thread pulling him back toward you. For when the soul chooses, the mind eventually follows. If you are sensing these signs, you're not imagining them. You are reading a subtle language of awakened hearts. You stand before a bond that surpasses labels, timing, and certainty. Perhaps he doesn't yet recognize it fully. Perhaps he mistakes it for coincidence or chemistry. But within him a deeper truth is unfolding. A truth that makes him seek you without reason, protect you without thought, and prioritize you without being asked. This cannot be forced. It simply exists, alive and undeniable. If the day comes when he finally puts into words what his soul already knows, it will be because you held space for it. Because you did not rush or demand, but trusted that mature love unfolds at its own rhythm.
Love is not a race.
It is a dance. Sometimes one leads while the other waits. Other times both move in perfect sync without practice. In this flow, in this harmony, the sacred reveals itself. As Jung reminded us, the most authentic parts of us lie not on the surface, but in our depths, in dreams, in symbols, in emotions that rise unbidden. Real love lives there too, beyond fear, beyond masks. So if you notice his habits shifting, his priorities realigning, his energy softening near you, trust it.
He is in love.
He may not yet know it, he may never say it aloud, but his soul has already chosen, and you, if you feel it too, remember this is not chance. You are standing at the threshold of something rare, something that cannot be bought, faked, or forced. A love built in silence, revealed step by step, gesture by gesture, until one day it becomes undeniable. Then you will realize real love does not shout, but it changes everything. If this message resonated with you, don't just scroll away, pause and reflect. The signs of love often speak in silence, in presence, in the smallest gestures that echo deeply in the soul. If you felt that undeniable connection, trust it. Subscribe to this channel for more Carl Jung-inspired insights on relationships, the unconscious, and the truths we often overlook. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today, and let's continue this journey toward deeper understanding together.